Hey, welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk. I am your host, Jeff Hootselle. I'm the Chief Cloud Officer with AuditMax. So those of you guys that have joined us before, you know, Tech Talk is a show. We talk to IT leaders and subject matter experts in this field. We talk about some of the interesting things they're doing. We'll touch on topics that are happening in the news today, and as well as their companies and some of the great solutions they provide. We always have great guests. Today is no different. We've got John Roman with FoxPointe Solutions joining us today from up in New York. So John, thanks and welcome to the show.
Hey Jeff, thank you and thanks for inviting me. This is exciting.
So John, you're the president and COO of FoxPointe Solutions. I know you guys are in the information technology risk management kind of security compliance field. Maybe just take a minute at the top and tell people a little more about FoxPointe and kind of what you guys offer.
Sure. So FoxPointe Solutions is a division of the Bonadio Group. Bonadio Group is an accounting 40 firm, so we're in the top 40 accounting firms in the country, and we have about 800 employees. And FoxPointe Solutions is the information risk management and information security arm of the Bonadio Group. We were previously known as Bonadio Enterprise Risk Management. So we've been in business for, about 12, 13 years as Bonadio ERM, and we decided to rebrand ourselves last year as FoxPointe Solutions. And we provide really three types of information security and risk management services. The first is in and around compliance and attestation, focusing on HIPAA, high trust, PCI, and SOC 1 and 2 in particular. The second line of business that we focus on is in and around IT audits, and IT audits focusing almost primarily on banks and credit unions and other types of financial institutions that are required every year to be audited, not only from a financial perspective, but also from an IT perspective. And then finally, we have a testing group or a pen testing group where we provide both internal and external pen testing, red team pen testing, where we become ethical hackers and test a client's awareness around IT or their systems being hacked.
So John, you've been in IT for a while now. You've got you got a great background. I think 35 years in technology. Not trying to age you or anything there, but good well-versed background here.
I started very, very young. I'm only 38, so
that's right. It's impressive. You're like the Doogie Howser of technology. It's great.
Yeah, right. The Doogie Howser of IT. Yeah,
that's right. So you've seen a lot in those times. You guys offer a lot of services at FoxPointe. We talk about the COVID pandemic and how it's kind of forced this big shift to work at home and it really disrupted the business. The business world. I'm curious from a security standpoint, maybe doesn't get talked about as much as people are focused on work from home, but the bad guys really haven't taken a break, and taken a vacation when all this COVID stuff has happened. What have you guys seen over the past few months, in terms of the threat landscape out there and how it's affecting businesses?
Well, it certainly hasn't gotten any better. I like to say that information security is recession-proof, and now, unfortunately, it is also pandemic-proof. Bad actors try to take advantage of any type of situation, whether the situation is good or bad. And during COVID-19, it has been no different. All you have to do is read a newspaper, read a trade publication, go to CNN.com, and you'll find that bad people are doing bad things electronically. The latest being that unemployment benefits are now being stolen. There's a crime ring in Nigeria that are applying for for unemployment benefits using hacked Social Security numbers, and the checks being delivered directly to them. So there is always something going on in information security, and COVID-19, especially with now people working from home. And we all know that home networks are not as secure as corporate networks are. And sometimes in people's excitement, they like to show things, their home work setup. And by taking pictures and posting to Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, and lo and behold, on their picture, there's a screenshot of financial information or other types of non-public information that's available to the world.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think you think a lot about security and these hackers and folks that are getting in and trying to do bad things, and everyone has this picture in their mind of these sophisticated guys that are sitting and trying to break through your defenses and things like that. Where in a lot of cases, it's really the human element that's kind of the weakest link and the biggest threat to this.
Right.
I mean, as you guys see that and talk to companies, how do you recommend companies address that? When they start to think about their employees and the fact they're working in this new environment and kind of a new setup, how do you do that?
Yeah,
keep them engaged, but at the same time stay safe?
Yeah, it's really, I would say 5 years ago, there was a focus on annual employee security awareness training. Now the shift is continual employee security awareness training, where frequent updates on the do's and don'ts of working from home. Really, at the end of the day, people are the firewall. People are the first line of defense when it comes to protecting against a bad thing from happening, a cybersecurity attack. Even insofar as their home networks and keeping themselves secure and their own personal data secure. So it's not only about keeping corporate assets secure, but it's also about educating them about keeping their own information assets secure.
Sure. Yeah, and John, as you think about this, you mentioned the security is, it's recession proof, but a lot of companies are going to have their IT budgets affected by this, and they're going to have to be a little bit more, CIOs are going to be more choosy on where they do their spending, going through the second half of this year and going into next year. As you give guidance to a business out there, as they're kind of looking at this and thinking of their limited budgets, where do they start? There's so many layers of security they can possibly kind of dive into, and they think about protecting it. It can almost be overwhelming. So for those with kind of limited budgets and they're trying to prioritize those things, what are those first couple things on the list that you would say to them they should address first when trying to protect their business?
Well, first, I failed to mention that I'm also the Chief Information Officer for the Bonadio Group itself. So I'm in the middle. I'm facing the same challenges as my CIO peers are in terms of cutting IT budget from previous year's spend. And what I've done is what I'm doing is shifting funds from one bucket to information security. I don't believe that information security spend should be decreased. At a minimum, it should remain flat between 2019 and 2020. But certainly not a decrease. I'll look for other areas to save in terms of IT spend. So that would be my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is we all have to do with what we have, and that doesn't mean we take a break from information security either. So I think there'll be more of an emphasis on the human factor other than, hey, we need to go buy a new piece of equipment, because equipment is only one part of that three-legged stool of processes and procedures, employees, as well as technology.
Yeah, it's certainly something that I think is top of mind for everybody. I mean, a lot of businesses, if they do have an incident, especially in that small, mid-sized category, there's a challenge if they can even recover as a business, with something significant that may happen to them from a security standpoint. So I think you're right. I think, saying that's the area you're going to slash in budget would probably be a serious downfall. So I think, John, I could talk to you all day about this stuff. We're kind of barely scratching the surface on the security piece. We may have to have you back on again and dive a little bit deeper. But for folks that want to find out a little more about FoxPointe and understand the things that you guys do, where can they go to find out more about the company?
So first and foremost, they can certainly reach out to me. I believe my contact information is already published on your site. Second, they can go to our website, FoxPointeSolutions.com. Third, they could go to our LinkedIn showcase page. So those would be the three major areas, but certainly I'd love to have a conversation with anybody who's interested.
No, that's great. Well, John, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We appreciate it. Appreciate all your insights. Certainly take care up there in New York. Glad things are warming back up again for you guys.
Thank you, and thanks so much for having me on this podcast. I really appreciate it.
You got it. You guys, thank you. Definitely go check out FoxPointe Solutions. Connect with John on LinkedIn and a number of the other areas he talked about. And we'll look forward to catching you guys next time on our next episode. Thanks for joining us.